الناس لا يريدون إلا كتاب الله ولا يريدون إلا سنة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم والله المستعان.
Okay. Bismillah. Alhamdulillah wahdahu wassalatu wassalamu ala man la nabiyya ba'dahu wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man tamassaka bi sunnatihi ila yawm ad-din wa sallama tasliman kathira amma ba'd. As we talked about the fikr of the Khawarij and the different types of ambiguities that they use in order to circulate and widespread or they stand out with spreading their shubahat or their confusion and their chaos that they spread amongst the earth. From the different shubahat that they use is the Khawarij, or is the Khuruj, as they so-called claim, from different companions of the Prophet ﷺ. Or they try to say that Aisha radiallahu anha made Khuruj, or she went out against the ruler, or they'll try to say, for example, Hussein went out in order or against the command of the ruler, or they'll try to use Abdullah ibn az-Zubair. As this is an important topic in regards to seerah, in regards to history, in which a lot of people don't know the answers if these different type of ambiguities are used. They'll also say, for example, the Khuruj, excuse me. Anyway, in regards to Khuruj, or going out against the ruler's obedience, or going against the obedience of the ruler, they'll use the shubha of different fudala, or people who are virtuous from the Salaf, such as, like we said, Abdullah ibn Zubair, or Hussein, or Aisha. They'll say that the mas'ala, or the affair, or for example, the issue in regards to going out and fighting the ruler is a mas'ala ijtihadiyya. It's a matter in which it's according to the opinion of a certain or one scholar who he sees for it to be a strong evidence in that they can use to justify. So they say, for example, like we talked about before, they'll use the shubha of saying that this was an actions of some of the Salaf. They did this, and for that reason, why can't we just say, since they did it, that we'll do it? So they'll hassle a shubha, or I'm going to repeat it again. This ambiguity that they use. Number one, they say that the affair of going out against the ruler in order to overthrow him is a masala ijtihadiyya. It's a matter according to one's opinion. Based upon which scholar thinks is the strongest opinion is what we take. And they say their dalil is some people from the Salaf went out against the ruler, and some people from the virtuous Salaf, such as some of the Sahaba, such as Abdullah ibn Zubair, or Hussein, or even Aisha, and some of the Tabi'een, in the fitna of Ibn Ash'ath. For example, Amr al-Sha'bi, the great Mufassir in which we know, Sha'bi. And other than them, from the great Fudalat, from those who are virtuous, who are people of virtue, and people of what? Of taqwa, and people of iman, and people who we know in our religion to be those who we take as a role model to be followed. So this is the shubha that they use. They use this one. So they say, those from Ahl Fadl, either you, Ahl Sunnah, either you declare them to be Khawarij, because they went out against the wishes of the ruler or the obedience of the ruler. Either you say now, that, for example, that Abdullah ibn Zubayr is a Khariji. Or for you, for example, now to say Hussein is a Khariji. Either you say they're from the Khawarij, or it's upon you now to either take those ahadith in regards to the one that goes out against the ruler and does not comply with his obedience, then he's a what? He's a Khariji. And all those nusus in regards to the wa'id of people in them, of those people who fell into this type of matter, being from Kilab and Nal, the dogs of hell, this applies to them. And you have to say this. So this is their argument that they use. طيب. Is it true, number one? We have to talk about now what happened with Hussein and look at the tariq of what happened with Abdullah ibn az-Zubair and other than them. For number one, we want to lay down the qa'idah, or the principle of Ahl Sunnah, before we actually start talking about the actual events that took place with Abdullah ibn az-Zubair and other than them from the people of Fadl, the people of virtue. Number one, we have to look at or lay down the qawa'id of Ahl Sunnah. Once we lay down the qawa'id of Ahl Sunnah, then we'll talk about what happened in tariq, in the history. So number one, we say, by this type of taqreer, or this type of acknowledgement, or this type of ideology that they have, for now, playing on the steps. For now, for one, to use this type of affair, to use it as a dalil, to justify one going out against the Muslim ruler, what it necessitates now is number one. For now, for us to use those who, let's just say, they fell into a mistake, for the people of virtue, for the people who are from the Salaf, from our people who we take as a role model to be followed. Let's just say they did fall into a mistake. Let's just say that. For us now to use their mistake as a dalil to justify something in our religion, what does that necessitate? Number one, it necessitates, as we'll talk about what Shaykh al-Islam mentions in his book, Rafi' al-Malam, an A'immat al-A'lam. He mentions in his books, based upon this type of ideology, it nullifies and it also invalidates the Shara', the Kitab and Sunnah. It nullifies the Kitab and Sunnah, number one, and it nullifies the Ahadith and the application of it by using an action which is wrong or a mistake from the people of virtue. For if a person is virtuous, of course we know nobody after the Prophet ﷺ is what? Is ma'soom. Nobody's infallible. Everybody's capable of what? Falling into a mistake and an error. Even if they're a person of what? Virtue. And for us to leave now a hadith that's reached maybe hundreds, which has established a matter and has laid it down as a foundation, and to leave off something that has reached the level of tawatur, of hundreds of ahadith, in order to take as of evidence or proof somebody that made a mistake, which comes as a result of it is what, everyone? You nullified the Kitab and Sunnah. Took in all those ahadith and threw it out the window for a person that made a mistake, even if he's a person of virtue. So you'll find a lot of different masail and a lot of different matters, which we'll cover and we'll clarify shortly, inshallah, bi'idhnillah. So Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah, he talks about Rafi' al-Malam. He says the people break down to two types in this regard. Just listen, don't write this down yet. He says, for verily, a person that used this type of ideology to justify doing something incorrect or opposes the Shara', doing something that's incorrect or something that opposes the religion because someone of virtue did it. He said what comes as a result of it is two masalik maslakan khabithan. He says, for now, for us, like we said, to leave off what Allah and His Messenger said, to justify some wrong based upon someone of virtue did it when they fell into a mistake. He says, in regards to this, a person now has to embark upon two methodologies which are both khabithan, which are disgusting. For number one, he says, If a person now was to leave off the ahadith, or leave off the sunnah, and leave off the kitab and sunnah, and take and accept the person who's virtuous, and do what they did, what will come as a result of it, we have left off the nusus al-shar'i, where we say it's not binding upon us to what? Follow it. And also likewise, just because a person of virtue fell into mistake, that opposed the kitab and opposed the sunnah, and we know he's a person of virtue. He says it's not upon us to what? That we specify that which he fell into of what is in opposition to the religion, which was in contrast to the kitab and sunnah, that we follow him in that mistake. For what will come as a result of it is what? The wrath of Allah and being from those from the people of Ahl Kitab, by leaving off the nusus and giving a person precedence to their mistake over what Allah and His Messenger says. So we know the wrath of Allah comes as a result of what, everyone? Leaving off Kitab and Sunnah. And also that's a tariqah, or that's a methodology, that's khabith. For us to leave off what Allah and His Messenger says in order to follow someone, even if they're a person of virtue, in a mistake they made. So that's the pattern number one. Tawjih, or the answer that Shaykh al-Islam gives, that he said is tariqani khabithan. That's one of the what? Disgusting methodologies. That's number one. So number one is khabith, is to leave off what? The nusus, in order to what? Follow someone that made a mistake, even though they're what? Virtuous, and even at the same time they're excused for the mistake they made. From those from the Sahaba. He says, or will come from this disgusting type of khabith, of this type of methodology. He said this is the first thing that we just mentioned, what I just said. Also, the number two thing, what comes as a result of this, is luhuq al-wa'id, is to say that those nusus and those texts in regards to people falling into certain sins, or people falling into certain acts, that we take those nusus and apply it to them specifically. What do I mean by that? As we know, and I have to clarify this, as we know, when we read in certain books from Ibn al-Qayyim, for a person that leaves off salat, kafir, that's the general hukum. Generally. For now, for us to say and apply that same text to someone specifically, as we talked about on many occasions, that's something that's totally what? Different. It's a different arena, and it's a total different what? Affair altogether. It's a difference between text word general and now applying it specifically against an individual. Right, everyone? They're two affairs which are what? Different. So as a result of this matter, what we're talking about right now, in regards to the person that fell into this sin right here, let's just say, or mistake, mistake. What would necessitate now is that we take those general texts and now we enter in the bab of what is specific and applies the nusus to every person that what? Fell into that mistake. Whereas, for example, we say, Khalid al-Walid, during the time of Bani Judayma, he killed them people. So now we say the la'in of Allah is upon Khalid al-Walid because he fell into that killing of people unjustly. And on top of that, what? Those nusus in regards to killing mu'mineen applies to him specifically. What we say is that's wrong, incorrect. Why? Because that's what they call bab al-ta'yin. That's specifically taking texts and applying it to someone specifically, and that's not permissible for anyone to do unless it's been established against them, and you cannot establish against any of the Sahaba because they already have what? Passed away, and on top of that, what? Allah Ta'ala said all of them are in paradise. You understand what I'm saying so far? So that's what Shaykh al-Islam is saying. He said, number one, necessitates from you using this as a hujjah against us. You're saying now, for us to, so-and-so from the Salaf, why don't you use them as an example and follow them and going out against the ruler? We say, akhi, we have mi'at ahadith, hundreds of ahadith. So we're going to leave out all these clear texts as the sun of the sky in order to what? Follow something in which when someone is virtuous and he's excused for that mistake and follow them in that same mistake. So that's the number one that he said is khabith. Number two, also likewise, like we said, you're switching now text from which is from the bab of what? Which is general to that which is the bab or the fear of what? Ta'yin. And it's not permissible. You understand? So far what I'm saying? So he said that, so basically it's to say, for example, Khalid Walid, khalas, the wrath of Allah, the curse of Allah is upon him to the end of it. Permissible to say? Usama bin Zayd, when he killed that individual, the sword was above his head. And when he was about to kill him, he said, La ilaha illallah. He killed him anyway. Fell into a sin. He fell into a khata. Wrong, right, everyone? So for now, for us to come, see, so Usama bin Zayd, let's all come behind him, following him in mistake. Once we see a shubha, somebody wants to get, someone doesn't want to truly, sincerely accept Islam, and he shows that he's just trying to play games, we're going to kill him anyway, because Usama bin Zayd did it, and that's from the Salaf. You understand? Or now you say that, for example, if that's the case, Ahl Sunnah, if you not follow him, then take the nusus about killing someone unjustly and apply it on them. We say no, akhi, because that's bab ta'yin. That's the fear of what? Ta'yin. It's not permissible. And we already know at the end of the day that all the Sahaba are where? Paradise. Khalas. Right, everyone? So that's what Shaykh al-Islam here is talking about, that they're what? They're two methodologies which are both khabith. Either going to leave off the nusus, or you're going to apply these nusus in regards to Khawarij or them being cursed due to these mistakes upon the Sahaba. So both masalik are what? Both affairs that they traverse is what? Khabithan. Jayyid? That's why Shaykh al-Islam says Rafi' al-Malam. He says, أحدهما القول بلحوق الوعي بكل فرد من الأفراد بعينه والدعوة أن هذا عمل بموجب النصوص وهذا أقبح من قول الخوارج والمعتزلة. He said that in regards to a person that falls into or does a mistake such as which you mentioned, such as Khalid Walid and Usama bin Zayd, the likes of them, and it's a lot of different examples of this, a lot. He says either we're going to now say that these people fell into being what? Khariji, or all these people all fell into the la'n of Allah because they kill people unjustly, and we take those nusus and apply it upon those Sahaba. And he said what? He said this type of action, in regards to this, he says more destructive and more filthy and more wretched than the qawl of the Khawarij and the Mu'tazila. To now, because this would necessitate that what? Every person that falls into a mistake, we'd all specifically say now that the la'n of Allah is upon you because you did this. The la'n of Allah is upon you did this. You're a kafir now because you left off the salah. It would cause chaos. Everyone could do it. The la'n of Allah, you're khariji. Specifically now, everyone that falls a specific sin, now everyone can start running their mouth and say that you did this, you're a person of this, you're khariji, you're the la'n of Allah, you're mal'oon, you're cursed. You're a person that you left off Fajr. I didn't see you this morning. Yeah, now seeing you come in late. Now you're a person, akhi, you have now a kafir to the end of it. Chaos. You understand? That's why Shaykh al-Islam said, he said this will necessitate now that you apply these ahkam to every single individual. Specifically. You understand, everyone? طيب. And he also just mentioned the same thing that I just said. He says, ترك القول والعمل بموجب أحاديث رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ظن أن القول بموجبها مستلزم للطعن لمن خالفها وترك عمل بأحاديث يجر إلى الضلال واللحوق بأهل الكتابين اللذين اتخذوا رهبانها وأحبارهم أربابا من دون الله والمسيح ابن مريم. And I already just mentioned that. He says also likewise, this type of statement, meaning using and taking as a role model a person that fell into a mistake and leaving off the nusus and kitab, he says it leads to obeying the creation and disobedience to who? To the Creator. Then Shaykh al-Islam goes on to say, رفع الملام ويفضي إلى طاعة المخلوق في معصية الخالق ويفضي إلى قبح العاقبة وسوء التأويل للمفهوم من فحوى قول الله تعالى أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول وأولي الأمر منكم. He said it leads to a very evil outcome and also the misinterpretation, the false interpretation of understanding the pure statement of Allah Ta'ala, obey Allah and His Messenger and those in authority over you. And there's other differences that this is also more kalam that he mentioned, but I summarize to keep it concise for there. So you understand, everyone? No matter who it is, even if it's a person of virtue, they found to a mistake, we still give precedence to who? To the Kitab and Sunnah. Even if it's a person of virtue that what? Fell into a mistake. And this type of, or traversing this type of path, this is what Shaykh al-Islam, he says, of trying to use this in order to take these type of certain mistakes and enter them to use as a dalil in order for one to apply, he says it's not from the sabil or the path of the people of Iman and Taqwa. Because Allah Ta'ala says in His book, اتَّبِعُوا مَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكُم مِّن رَبِّكُمْ وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا مِن دُونِهِ أَوْلِيَاءَ قَلِيلًا مَا تَذَكَّرُونَ. Right, everyone? He says, follow that which has been revealed for your Lord. Right, everyone? And do not follow that which is besides Him, of awliya. And we also know the ayah. Allah Ta'ala فَلَا وَرَبِّكَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ حَتَّى يُحَكِّمُوكَ فِي مَا شَجَرَ بَيْنَهُمْ ثُمَّ لَا يَجِدُوا فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ حَرَجًا مِّمَّا قَضَيْتَ وَيُسَلِّمُوا تَسْلِيمًا. We know ayat after ayat after ayat after ayat. وَمَا كَانَ لِلْمُؤْمِنِ وَالْمُؤْمِنَةِ وَإِذَا قَضَى اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ أَمْرًا يَكُونَ لَهُمُ الْخِيَرَةُ مِنْ أَمْرِهِمْ. To the end of the ayah, right, everyone? For thou, your Lord, they do not believe until they give you a Muhammad and make you the judge in all their affairs, and they will not find any type of what? Any type of reluctancy or any type of haraj in their chest, of which you have what judge? They submit wholeheartedly. Basically, this is to say, keep presence Kitab and Sunnah, even if it's a person of virtue that fell into a specific mistake in a certain matter, and it's not for you to what? Use that to justify an evil that you commit. Even if they're a person of virtue. Right, everyone? Jayyid. So listen to what it goes on to say. He says, فَمَا دَامَ أَنَّ فِعْلَهُ قَدْ خَالَفَ صَرِيحَ السُّنَّةِ عَنِ النَّبِيِّ صلى الله عليه وسلم كما قال ابن عباس وراهم يهلكون أقول لهم قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ويقولون ليش قال أبو بكر وعمر. He says also likewise. He said, as long as their action as opposed that which is clear in the Kitab and Sunnah and what has been affirmed upon the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, just as Ibn Abbas has said to those people, when he said to them, when they talked about how ifrad, as Abu Bakr and Umar talked about how ifrad and Hajj was what? Was the better ritual over tamattu'. The Prophet, he heard from Ibn Abbas, heard from the Prophet ﷺ, the ritual of Hajj and tamattu' is what? Is better. So they said to Ibn Abbas, Abu Bakr and Umar said such and such. He said, I heard the Prophet ﷺ say such and such. Then they said again what? We heard Abu Bakr and Umar said. Then Ibn Abbas said his famous statement. He says, I see that they will be destroyed. I say to them, the Messenger of Allah says such and such, and you say to me, Abu Bakr and Umar says such and such. He says, if this is the state, now listen to what Shaykh al-Islam goes on to say, if this is the state of the Prophet ﷺ in regards to Abu Bakr and Umar, and we know their status in our religion, he said, what about the person whose statement in front of Abu Bakr and Umar is not anything? You understand? As we know that Abu Bakr and Umar is the most virtuous of all the Sahaba after the Prophet ﷺ. For until now, that's what Ibn Abbas said about Abu Bakr and Umar. It's like we said, what about whose statement and compared to Abu Bakr and Umar in front of them is nothing. Then therefore all the more reason that we what? Leave off their statement and leave off that action that what? Oppose the Kitab and the Sunnah. Right, everyone? Jayyid. So they say that Zubair or Hussein, to the end of them, they said that they left out and fell to being from the Khawarij, or they fell. You now have to say what? O Ahl Sunnah, these people are Khawarij. Because they went out against the ruler, they went out against the leader, to the end of it. So the Ahadith al-Khawarij. So now Ahl Sunnah, these people did this action. From Abdullah ibn Zubair and other than Hussein. It's now upon you to what? Take the nusus about the Khawarij and apply it on them. And we say no. said, I don't agree with you in this. Because like we said, this is a bab ta'yin. It's an aspect of specifying and making specific by those nusus, which are general, and applying it specifically to one individual, and we know that's not permissible until it be established upon a person, and we know that at the end of the day it cannot be established because Allah Ta'ala said that all of the Sahaba were in Jannah. So basically they want to use this in order to show that the masala or the matter is a matter which is ijtihadiyah. They want to say, so for example, okay, you have nusus that's clear as the day in the sky. But also you have Sahaba, Yahi, that did this certain thing. And why can't we just use that? See, Salaf is an action of the Salaf. So they're trying to say basically it's a matter that is open. You could take this or you could take that route. Because a person of virtue did it. Correct? It's a matter of ijtihad, it's a matter of one's opinion. Everybody's open for what? To take what they want. It's like a supermarket. If you want to take what? If you want to take what the Sahaba did, because they did it, alhamdulillah, you got to sell it for it. You understand? And like we talked about before, the Prophet ﷺ in those nusus, what happened with Khalid and Walid, what happened with Bani Judayma, when he went out and Abu Judayma had became Muslim, and they said the word sabbatna, sabbatna, or sabbatna, sabbatna. In their lahja, or their type of way of speech, what they were speaking, or their type of tone of language, they were trying to say to Khalid Walid, we became Muslim, we became Muslim. Sabbatna, sabbatna. He didn't understand, so he killed them. Khalid Walid, Sahabi, great Sahabi, Saif min suyufillah. The Prophet ﷺ now came on the minbar and said, Oh Allah, I have freed myself to you for what Khalid did. So now, for us to come behind and say, I have a salaf. See, I'm going to kill people unjustly because Khalid Walid is my salaf for this. Ya akhi, does that make any sense? We say that Khalid Walid, radiallahu anhu, may ijtihad, fell into a mistake. Khalas, he's excused. So for that aspect of you trying to now take as a role model a mistake that he made, radiallahu anhu, in which he's in Jannah, he's also excused for it. And he's also overlooked for it. And he's in paradise because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informed us of that. It's still binding upon you to take what the Prophet ﷺ said by him freeing himself from that mistake and to not do an action like that. And at the same time, you have to realize it is not permissible for you to make ta'in in the Sahaba. Because it's not permissible for what? For you to take nusus which are general and now specifically apply it to an individual who is known that he's in paradise. Plus he's from those who are what? Allah Ta'ala is forgiven and overlooking. Clear? Jayyid. It's crazy because you'll find that the majority of them say that what? The jamhur ahl ilm upon what, everyone? It's not permissible to go out against the Muslim ruler, leader, kill him. The jamhur upon that, and then we all know that's a what? It's a masala that's a aqadiyah. It's not a fiqh issue. The issue in regards to going out against a hakim is a Muslim that's connected with i'tiqad. Why do you find all the books of i'tiqad? What do they put in there? What do they put in there? Ta'at wali al-amr. وإن كان جائرا وإن كان مستبدا وإن كان خاشما وإن كان ظالما وإن كان مضطهدا, to the end of it. Obeying and adhere to the Muslim ruler, even if he's what, even if he's oppressive, even if he's tyrannical, even if he's a person that sheds blood, to the end of it. That's a fair that you'll find us in the aqa'id. It's in the usul. It's not a fair ijtihad. You understand, everyone? It's in regards to the aqidah. That's a clean book in your belief system. You don't make that for the bab of fiqh, it's open for discussion. Everybody can take their opinion, There's no text in it. His hadith has reached a level of tawatur in this bab. How are you going to take and say it's open for ijtihad? There's no sus from the kitab and sunnah that reached probably more than hundreds. Clear as day is in the sky. It's not for you to now to come and say, oh, disregard that. It's open for ijtihad because someone from the Salaf fell into something. You understand? Jayyid? Tayyib. It's crazy because also likewise, you'll find the Khawarij from them who not stay firm upon what? Upon what Hajjaj is upon. They'll say for one time that the Hajjaj is a kafir. And they'll find, for example, everybody knows Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi. I gave a whole khutbah on Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi. Talked about maybe 3 weeks ago. Yes, I did. I gave a whole khutbah on it. Right around everyone? You guys didn't? Are you sure? I'm not crazy. Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi. Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi, you'll find from the Takfiris, they'll say, no, Ibn Ash'ath, there was a fitna during the history of the Tabi'een, it was called the fitna of Ibn Ash'ath. I'll talk about that later. Ibn Ash'ath took some of his companions and went out against Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi to kill him. So they'll say they left out to kill him either because he was kafir. So when they found out that it didn't aid them in what they were trying to, their ulterior motives of trying to actualize their hidden goals, oh, he's not a kafir because that's not going to aid us for the Muslim ruler who's Muslim because Hajjaj ibn Yusuf is kafir. No, let's switch it. Let's say he's Muslim. Let's say Hajjaj is Muslim. Let's switch it around. So they'll try to aid us in that aspect of affair of what everyone? For the Muslim who's an oppressive, tyrannical ruler who is Muslim. So we'll switch it up. So they won't remain firm upon a statement. It's always looking for something to justify doing it incorrectly. Jayyid. Tayyib. Now, we ask the question, is it permissible to take as a role model, هل يجوز أن تقتدي بالمعذور? Is it permissible to take as a role model, take a person to be followed, a person who's excused, who made a mistake in that particular act they did? I'll say it again. Is it permissible for us, after I lay down all these different principles, is it permissible now to follow one who's excused, to follow them in that error that they made? Even if they're a person of virtue, such as the Sahaba? Not in the error that was made. Ahsantum. As we know, anyone from the history that has not listened to what the Prophet ﷺ said, all regret it. Every single last one of them. Anyone that did not listen to what the Prophet ﷺ did, all regretted in the end. All of them regretted. Every single last one of them. For all the fitna of what took place from the Tabi'een, from those which we'll talk about inshallah, what happened to Amr al-Sha'bi and the fitna of Ibn Ash'ath and trying to kill Hajjaj ibn Yusuf, all of them at the end all said that they either at the time of their death, they would say that we did not actualize or we did not perfect our dunya nor our hereafter. Regret. Or you'll find from them who made tawbah because they severely and highly regretted in the end. From Amr al-Sha'bi. Amr al-Sha'bi highly regretted and he had that remorse, that severe remorse of what took place. Even when Shaykh al-Albani, and inshallah I'm going to bring this on, I'll probably put it on the group. And the fatwa what happened with Aisha radiallahu anha. Aisha cried to the point they said that they felt so sorry for her. Cried and cried and cried and cried and cried and cried. Cried and cried and cried. Anybody, like we said, that fell into a mistake, every single last one of them regretted in the end. Either they made tawbah or they regretted. So a person now, did you see all this is examples? This is a namudaj of every single person, even if you want to try to use the Sahaba to justify your nonsense of going out khuruj. Every single last one of them cried. Every single one of them made tawbah. What does that tell you? Ding, 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 ding. What does that tell you? What does it tell you, everyone? It's a good action. It's nice to do. Hey, let's go out. Hey, look. This is the result of it. Look. You're going to die in the deathbed and you're going to be your soul coming out of your body. You're going to be highly regretting to the end of also from them who cried and regretted and cried and regretted. Now, is it permissible now? Let's get on the khutbah. Let's get on the minbar. Let's say, hey, everyone, let's go out. Take as a role model someone who made a mistake. Do exactly what they did so we call fail in the end. Make any sense? Let's all go out now. So-and-so failed. They didn't accomplish anything. Nothing happened. Ma qamuddin wa dunya. Didn't establish nothing. All of them that established all that we have all these mistakes of the people of the past. Let's go out and let's all fail. And similarly, let's all have that severe remorse and depressed and everything of all the bloodshed that took place and all the corruption. Let's all do it. Come on, hey, let's go. Huh? Does it make sense? So we have to what? We have to make a differentiation between the people who have reached them, the nusus and the hujjah, and those who did not reach them. So that's to lay down the qawa'id now. So we lay down the qawa'id of Ahl Sunnah in regards to this what? This matter. Right, everyone? So we lay down the qawa'id. طيب. Now let's look into the aspect of now. What took place with Abdullah ibn az-Zubair? After we lay down the qawa'id of Ahl Sunnah, what took place in Tariq? I'm going to sum it up as best as I can in these small minutes. As we know, Shaykh al-Islam mentions in his book called Al-Istiqama. Al-Istiqama. It's on the Safha 300. I think it's 280. In his book called Al-Istiqama. He uses this to say, all the events or the occurrences that took place, it is not permissible to use as a dalil in the shara', in the kitab, in kitab and sunnah. And he was talking about an affair in which one of the great virtuous salaf had took place. His name was Abdullah ibn Ja'far. It was an action that he did which was what? Incorrect. And he's using this to show it is not permissible for those who fell into mistakes or fell into a mistake to use it as a dalil in kitab and sunnah. And it's not permissible. And use it and bring it in the bab or aspect for it to be used as a hujjah. Listen to what he says in his book of Istiqama. He says, لما احتج بعض الناس نسبوه إلى عبد الله بن جعفر من احتج بفعل عبد الله بن جعفر في الدين ففي مثله لزمه أن يحتج بفعل معاوية في قتال علي وبفعل عبد الله بن الزبير في قتاله في الفرقة. There's a reason why he said فرقة. وأمثال ذلك مما لا يصلح لأهل العلم والدين أن يدخلوه في الدين والشرع. Shaykh al-Islam says, what happened? It is not permissible. He's talking about there was an action that took place. It was a mistake that was made from the virtuous one, Abdullah ibn Ja'far. And he said, for similar to this, he says, if one was to use this as a dalil for one to do because someone virtuous did it, it would necessitate now for us to take as a dalil and an argument of the proof of what happened with Muawiyah, what took place between him and Ali. And also the action of Ibn Zubair in Furqa, in his fighting in Furqa. Shaykh al-Islam is the reason why he said Furqa. Because we're going to talk about how Abdullah ibn Zubair did not go out against the ruler. Rather, the ruler went out against him, and he was the one who was what? Oppressed. Rather, the people who was Khawarij was Hajjaj ibn Yusuf, was the Khariji against Abdullah ibn Zubair. However, listen, the Khariji was Hajjaj ibn Yusuf Thaqafi. He was the Khariji. Because we're going to talk about in Tariq what happened with Abdullah ibn Zubair. Actually, the people of Hijaz from Mecca all gathered for him to be the ruler. Because Muawiyah ibn Zayd ibn Muawiyah had died. There was no one left to take the Khilafah. So the one who was obliged to take the Khilafah, who they all gathered around and they all had the consensus to take the rulership or the leadership was Abdullah ibn Zubair. He was the ruler. So what happened after that from the people who killed Hussein Was it Abdullah ibn Ziyad? No, it was no. Yeah, I was right. It was Abdullah ibn Ziyad. I was right, alhamdulillah. Abdullah ibn Ziyad gathered with Marwan. Marwan, who was under the jurisdiction of Muawiyah at the time, or Yazid ibn Muawiyah. How Abdullah ibn Ziyad and Hajjaj ibn Yusuf all co-conspirators in trying to overthrow and kill Abdullah ibn Zubair. So in actuality, who's the Khariji? Who's the Khariji? Hajjaj ibn Yusuf. So there was no khuruj from Abdullah ibn Zubair. So when you say in Tarikh, if you see from some takfiris, you'll say khuruj Abdullah ibn Zubair. Khata. That's wrong. It's not permissible to say khuruj Abdullah ibn Zubair. Because Abdullah ibn Zubair was the one who was being attacked. He was the one that was being what? Oppressed. However, what do we say about the hadith of Abdullah ibn Umar, which is in the Sahih? When he was what? When he was killed. He said, لَقَدْ كُنْتُ أَنْهَاكَ عَنْ هَذَا لَقَدْ كُنْتُ أَنْهَاكَ عَنْ هَذَا لَقَدْ كُنْتُ أَنْهَاكَ عَنْ هَذَا السلام عليكم يا أبا خبيب السلام عليكم يا أبا خبيب السلام عليكم يا أبا خبيب لقد كنت أنهاك عن هذا. What do we answer to that? How do we answer this? Now this is where I'm going to throw the wrench at you guys. There's a hadith which is Sahih, which is in Muslim. It's in the Sahih, or it's either Muslim. As we know, Hajjaj ibn Yusuf Thaqafi killed Abdullah ibn Zubair. Killed him. And we know Abdullah ibn Zubair was a Sahabi. Rather, he was the first one who was born after the Hijrah. After the Hijrah in Medina. He was the first Mawlud, the one who was born. After the Hijrah, and he died at the age of 11. After the Prophet ﷺ died. He was from the Sighar al-Sahaba. Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi, as they called all the co-conspirators, gathered to overthrow him. As we know, the Hajjaj ibn Yusuf had hung him upside down and had him hung against the Kaaba, killed. It was hanging upside down for 3 days. For 3 days. Everybody's talking in the back. You're trying to lay down, to trying to destroy Shubahat of different Khawarij. You can hear people talking. I don't know if it's... We hear a lot of people talking. I don't know. What was kids? What was kids in there? Oh, never mind. طيب. I mean, I can't answer this. I'll talk to you about it. What was I saying? Hajjaj ibn Yusuf had Abdullah ibn Zubair. He had him hung upside down. Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhu came up to him. He said, "Assalamu alaikum ya Aba Khubayb. Assalamu alaikum ya Aba Khubayb. Assalamu alaikum Abu Khubayb. I prohibited you from doing this. I prohibited you from doing this. I prohibited you from doing this." How do we answer that? That was a way of saying like Aba Khubayb, and I think that was from his kunya, what they used to call him that, Aba Khubayb. Abdullah ibn Zubair ibn Awam. Abdullah ibn Umar said, verily I prohibited you from this. Verily I prohibited you from this. Verily I prohibited you from this. How do we answer that? And I'm throwing this out there because you guys need to know these things. How, if he went against the text, why would Abdullah ibn Umar would have said that to Hajjaj, not to Abdullah ibn Zubair? Get it? Jade, I'm not answering this because the time is getting late. طيب, the answer to this is this. Abdullah ibn Umar wanted Abdullah ibn Zubair to be better, even though he was in the right. And this is a lesson to learn for all of us, that you could be right. You could be right in a matter. You can have the truth, the haqq with you. But Islam always calls us to be what? A better on another level than who your enemies are. Exactly. I said, Sheikh, you gave the perfect answer in 2 words exactly what Hassan did. Hassan ibn Ali did. He wanted him to do the exact same thing. Hassan ibn Ali, as we know the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, what happened with Hassan ibn Ali was rightfully person for the leadership, for the ruler. Nobody could argue. Right or wrong? Hassan was the one nobody could argue with. Just listen. Hassan, as we know, at the end, what happened was taking place with Muawiyah. As we know the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, what happened? What did the Prophet ﷺ say? He said, "Verily, هذا الشباب وهذا الشاب سيد وسيصلح الله به فئتان وطائفتين عظيمتين بين المسلمين." So verily, the shab of Hassan, he's talking about Hassan ibn Ali, is a sayyid, and he's going to rectify between 2 major groups from the Muslims. Hassan had took the what? The role of leadership. He was in right. Bay'a ahl hal wal aqd. They said that you're the ruler, you're the one is rightfully, everything is rightfully the leader. All the conditions fulfilled properly, you had the right. But however, all Hassan cared about was what? People's lives being lost. That's all he cared about. He knows that bloodshed was taking place after all, fitna taking place. Even though he was right. But all he cared about was what? I want to stop the bloodshed. This is too much. For over me being right. It's better for me while what? That bloodshed be stopped over my ego being right. Even though I know I'm right. And all the dalil proves I'm with me, and the Sahaba, the Haqq is with me to the end of it. Because we know all of us were very egotistical. Come on, man, I'm the right. I'm in the right. All the dalil points, I'm the man. What are you talking about? I'm in the right. Hassan gave the what? The rulership to Muawiyah. Just gave it to him to stop the fitna, stop bloodshed, stop people's lives from being lost. Just hand it over. That's it. In order for the unity of the people to be unified upon one ruler and to also stop the what? The bloodshed from taking place. Abdullah ibn Umar wanted that for what? Abdullah ibn Zubair. Even though you're right, Ya Aba Khubayb, but you still should have did what Hassan. That would have been better. Understand? You should have did some, just, give the sultan to the Khawarij. Give it to Abdullah, or give it to Marwan. Give it to Hajjaj. Just give it to him. In order just out of what? Protecting the blood of the Muslims. Notice that the Khawarij, they never use the story of Hassan. Because the story of Hassan will what, everyone? The story of Hassan will what? Good. But what will Hassan do? The story of Hassan will what? Will cut their goals off, because at the end of the day, they know Hassan didn't care about the rulership. And it wouldn't allow them to accomplish their goals of trying to reach the chair. Because at the end of the day, what's more important is that you keep the fitna down amongst the people, so people's blood will be protected and people's lives won't be lost. They know that. That's why they never understand or they mention the story of Hassan. Because he knows it's against them. Because he didn't care about the rulership. All he cared about was people's lives and property, and there to be peace in the land. That's all he cared about. He didn't care about the leadership. What's more important is people's blood being protected at the end of the day. That's why you never seen the takfiris using his dalil. So why would you use something that the Prophet ﷺ praised Hassan with to use to something that the Prophet ﷺ prohibited? For found someone in a mistake? Are you serious? Jayid? You understand where I'm coming from now, everyone? Is it clear what I'm saying now? So, Abdullah ibn Zubair, what happened with him? He wanted what, everyone? He wanted Abdullah ibn Umar, wanted Abdullah ibn Zubair, even though you're right, Ya Aba Khubayb, do what Hassan did. Sallim. Just sallim al-sulta lahu. Khalas, haqna li dima al-muslimin. Sallim lahu. Just give it to him, even though they're zalama, they're all ghusham, ghashama, zalama, mustabiddun. All of them, tyrannical, oppressive, they're all Khawarij. Just give it to him. Just to keep the peace in the land and the bloodshed from stop. That's it. That's what he wanted from him. Not because he was what? Not because he was a Khariji. Radiyallahu anhu wa ardah. Understand, everyone? See how virtuous the Sahaba were? Virtuous people. They didn't care about their ego. They didn't care about what's going on. Man, this is me, man. People, I'm oppressed, man. People oppressing me. It's not about that, akhi. It's just sometimes it's about just trying to bring peace to the people. Because people don't want fitna. Even if it's your own, sometimes you got to do something. You know in the back of your mind you're right. You know 100% you're right in something. But just to keep the fitna and the peace down, fine, you can have it. No problem. It's good. You understand, everyone? Jayyid. What happened likewise, the same thing what happened with Abdullah ibn Zubair was similar to Hussein. Exact same thing. What happened with Hussein ibn Ali. Same thing happened. Not Hassan, Hussein's brother. Radiyallahu anhu ardah. What happened was, as we know, Abdullah ibn Zubair was killed at the end of the day. He was killed oppressed. Or he's the one who's doing oppression. Who was he oppressed? He was oppressed. Even though Abdullah ibn Umar wanted to do better, but still at the end of the day, he was still correct. And he still died what? He still decided shaheed. He still died as the one who was what? Oppressed. He was mazloom. And likewise, what happened with Hussein, same exact thing. Hussein likewise, as he went and told him, do not go out against those who claim they have tashayyu' of Ali, the followers of Ali so-called. Because you've seen what they did to your what? Your brother. Or you've seen what they did to Ali. And how they co-conspirators, or they came together to be co-conspirators in order to what? He says, you see how they did to your brother, and they'll do the same thing to you. So Hussein was prohibited from going out from Abdullah ibn Abbas, from Abdullah ibn Umar, to the end of it. As all the different types of what broke off, we got to start with the Muawiyah. What happened first, what happened in Sham and Iraq, who took over, was Muawiyah. Then after Muawiyah was his son, Yazid ibn Muawiyah. Not out of love for his son, just to pass it off the rulership. The same thing with Hassan is what Muawiyah did too. If you check the actual seerah, what happened? What happened with Muawiyah? The same thing of what Hassan did is similar to what Muawiyah did. That's why he gave the leadership of the rulership to his son Yazid. It was ordered to keep fitna down and keep what? Bloodshed from being what? Taking place and spilled. That was the reason why he handed the rulership over to his son. It wasn't because, some people say, I'm just going to keep it in the family, let's just pass it on. Because some people think, Tariq, he just wanted to keep the rulership in the family, just pass it on down. No. The reason why he passed the rulership over to his son was to keep the fitna down. And to keep the blood from spilling. That's what Muawiyah had seen what was taking place, and that's the reason why I got passed on to Yazid. Then after Yazid passed, it was who? It was Muawiyah. Muawiyah ibn Yazid ibn Muawiyah. Who didn't live long for his khilafah. Who they say in some of the tariq, if you look at Bidayah when he had ibn Kathir, he only lived about maybe 40 days. And that's it. And he died. Rahimahullah rahmatuhu wasi'ah. Tayyib. Hussein, at the time when Yazid was living, who's the son of Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan, Muawiyah passed on the khilafah to his son Yazid. Yazid had an appointer, one who he appointed, whose name was Abdullah ibn Ziyad. Abdullah ibn Ziyad. Abdullah ibn Ziyad had sent out, without Yazid knowing, a battalion, who at the leader was Umar ibn Sa'd. And if you want to find the story of this, because you guys, inshallah, of course, my words, of course, has no value to it. But inshallah, who gave a good story to this, who broke it down real well, was Abu Iyad. You can find it in Salafi Pub too. I heard this about me about a year ago. He told the exact same story I'm telling now. He said, what happened with Umar ibn Sa'd? Umar ibn Sa'd was the leader of this battalion. By who? Who sent out the battalion? Abdullah ibn Ziyad. So Abdullah ibn Ziyad sent this battalion out at the leader of Umar ibn Sa'd in order to kill Hussein. Yazid didn't know. Yazid and Muawiyah didn't know. He didn't know. Right, everyone? طيب. When they reached Hussein, they tricked him. They told him to come out. As they says, you know, there's fitna going on. People are falling into bid'ah. Shuf. That's all the Salaf started worrying. Salaf, what they cared about was what? Bid'ah. So bid'ah, people are going now. They have now removed the hand of obedience from Yazid. There's fitna going on to the end of it. And we would like you to come out because you're the one who deserves the what? The rulership. And you know, we have left off obedience to this leader. There's a lot of fitna going on. Come out. Hussein went out. Hussein, when he went out, like we said, Yazid and Muawiyah sent out this battalion by Umar ibn Sa'd. When Umar ibn Sa'd had met Hussein, he said to him that they were going to kill him. So Hussein ibn Ali has said, I'm asking you one of three things. That you send me to Ibn Ammi. Send me to Ibn Ammi. He's talking about Muawiyah. He's talking about Yazid, He's talking about Yazid. Send me to Ibn Ammi, and he will know my haqqi and my qadr. Because Hussein was asking about the blood that was shed from his what? From his family. That's the reason why he left out. So he said, listen, go, send me, allow me to go to Yazid. For very, he's my Ibn Ammi, he's the son of my uncle, he's in my family, he will know my haqq, and he'll know what I'm asking. He said, or either you can send me to the kuffar from the thughur, or the different barriers to fight in the cause of Allah, and I'll die that way. Or I ask you to what? Send me back to Al-Madinah. Let me go back to Al-Madinah. They all refused and they killed him. All refused to give him one of the three things. Hussein, was he the oppressor or was he the one that was oppressed? He was oppressed. He was oppressed. After Yazid died, Muawiyah, his son, as we know, Yazid, after he passed, he gave the bay'ah or the leadership to his son, and we talked about that his son didn't live long, right, everyone? So there was no khilafah. There was no khilafah. There was no khilafah whatsoever for anyone. Except that the Sahaba in the Hijaz and Mecca all gathered around Abdullah ibn Zubair and said, you're the one who's what? Who's one deserving of the khilafah? Until they all agreed and came together and unanimously gave him the bay'ah, the pledge and allegiance for the ruler, for him to be the ruler, and the one who's what? The one who's the wali al-amr, or the person who's the person who's the wali al-amr, the one who's the ruler. Which they had what? By the Kitab and Sunnah was correct. As you'll find that Egypt had came under his leadership, Yemen had came under his leadership, Iraq had came under his leadership. Everybody was coming together to what? Be under the leadership of the what? The Khilaf of Abdullah ibn Zubair. So, Abdullah ibn Ziyad came together with Marwan. And also Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi. All of them came together in order to revolt against who? To overthrow Abdullah ibn Zubair. And also likewise after Marwan had died, then his son took over, who was Abdul Malik. Abdul Malik ibn Marwan. He took over. And they're the ones who what? Was all co-conspirators in order to kill Abdullah ibn Zubair. So at the end of the day, the one who was the Khariji was who? Was them. And it wasn't Abdullah ibn Zubair. You understand, everyone? For those who say out of their mouth, Khuruj, Abdullah ibn Zubair, who are they making ta'in of? Who are they making? Who are they disparaging? Who are they belittling? At the end of the day, if you say Khuruj, going out of Abdullah ibn Zubair, what does that what does that insinuate? Abdullah ibn Zubair is a Khariji. So at the end of the day, takfiris are making ta'in in who? Even though you use them as a dalil, you're still what? Criticizing them. Even though you can't use him as a dalil. But you use him as a what? You say, say Abdullah ibn Zubair, he's from the Salaf, he's from the Sahaba, to the end of it. So why you say Khuruji? He didn't fall to Khuruj. Khuruj Abdullah ibn Zubair. He gives the sense that he's a Khariji. So you use him as a dalil, even though at the same time you're disparaging him and speaking ill of them. So in reality, they're the ones who speak ill about Abdullah ibn Zubair. Until I told the rest of the story what happened with Asma. Because we know Abdullah ibn Zubair, his mother was who, everyone? Asma, bintuhu Abi Bakr. Radiyallahu anhu wa ardah. Wa radiyallahu anha wa ardaha, excuse me. That's all Abu Bakr. طيب. After now, we taught them and I said in the khutbah what happened to Abdullah ibn Zubair. As we know that Hajjaj ibn Yusuf had what? Had transgressed the sanctification or the holy or the sacredness of the Kaaba by attacking him and launching a minjaniq, launching something at him in the Kaaba, in the Haram, in Mecca. Transgressed that sanctity or that sacredness of the Kaaba, of the Haram of Mecca. He transgressed it. Killed Abdullah ibn Zubayr, killed a Sahabi in the what? Haram al-Makki. Hung him upside down for 3 days and ordered that he be buried in the burial site of the Yahud. He was oppressed until Hajjaj has said, "Imma an ab'athana ilayki, fatatini, wa illa la ab'athana ilayki man yashabuki bi qurunik." قالت لن آتي حتى تبعث إلي من يسحبني بقروني. لن آتي حتى تبعث إلي من يسحبني بقروني. Hajjaj ibn Yusuf said, "You will come to me, or I'll come someone out there. I'll send someone out there to drag you by your head or drag you by your hair." She said, "I'm not going anywhere until you send someone here to drag me by my head or my hair." So who came except Hajjaj ibn Yusuf himself came to Asma. Listen to it, Abdul Hajjaj. He says, "Ara'ayti ma fa'altu bi adwillah." Did you see what I did to the enemy of Allah? Who is he talking about? Abdullah ibn Zubair. She have a heartburn. I don't know. Sorry. She said, "Now, رأيتك قد أفسدت عليه دنياه. ورأيته قد أفسد عليك آخرتك." He says, "I have seen that, yes, you have corrupted his dunya," meaning for him being in power, him being in charge, and him being, you stopped that. "But I've seen him that you what? I've seen him that he corrupted you hereafter." Meaning that you what? You attacked him in the haram, you transgressed the sacredness of the haram, you killed somebody in the haram, you killed a sahabi, you killed someone who was innocent, to the end of it. So Asma, get in mind, ya akhi, ikhwa, this is her son. This was done to her son. All these things, oppressed, killed, hung upside down, humiliated, thrown in the graveyard of the Yahud, to the end of it. Until she said to him, that hadith which is in Sahih Muslim, where the Prophet ﷺ has said, he says, سيخرج من الثقيف كذاب ومبير. أما الكذاب فقد رأينا، يعني أبو عبيد الله الثقفي. أما الكذاب فلا إخالك إلا أنت، يعني لا أظنك إلا أنت، ولا إخالك إلا إياه، يعني لا أظنك إلا إياه. He says, as for, I heard from the Prophet ﷺ said they will emerge from Thaqif, a liar who's Abu Ubayd al-Thaqafi, and one who kills. He says, and I don't think, who's a mubir, means a muhlik. He says, for verily, I don't think, as far as the one who's a liar, because we know Abu Ubayd al-Thaqafi used to claim he used to have wahi, descent from Jibreel. He was a liar. Then secondly, you have what? He says, the one who loves to kill. He says, I don't think except that applies to what? To you. And we talked about when Hajjaj heard this from Asma, he stood up and walked away. Because he heard a hadith of what? From the Prophet, of the Prophet ﷺ. Notice that Asma, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, did not make takfir of Hajjaj. Despite of him didn't do this to his son, oppressed him, had him hung upside down to the end of it. She did not let her emotions control her to the point where she gave precedence to her emotions over what? Over Kitab and Sunnah. You understand? That's a lesson learned. She did not let her emotions transgress the bounds where she gave precedence to what she felt over what Allah and His Messenger said. You understand, everyone? That's a lesson learned for everyone. That these is how we're supposed to apply these nusus. And you have all those lessons that was learned from Hassan, from what happened with Muawiyah, from what happened with Abdullah ibn Zubair to the end of it. And this is the benefits of reading Sirah. To show the great virtues of the Sahaba and how of a high virtue they were upon. And to show the high status of the Sahaba, how great they were a people. They wasn't just people that went tit for tat. They always wanted to be on a higher ground, to being the better person. Even though they know at the end they were what? Right. Is it clear, everyone? Is it clear? So that was the story of Abdullah ibn Zubair, even though it was kind of, hope you guys didn't get bored from the long speech. But that's what I wanted to lay down for today. That was the Qawa'id. We wanted to lay down Qawa'id. And Rafa' al-Malam and A'immat al-A'lam was very beneficial. And also likewise, what happened in the Sirah of Abdullah ibn Zubair, which was concise. It was a little bit more details than that, but I tried to make it more concise as much as possible. Oh, shit, that's about 20 minutes. That's about 10 minutes, 20 minutes. What's a Rafa' al-Malam? I think he was. No, he wasn't. I want to give it to you. One of the brothers can. You should have it. You should have it. You guys didn't write none of this down? Alhamdulillah. طيب هذا وصلى الله وسلم بارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. The story of
يا طالب العلم قم لا تنم فإن الزمان انقضى وانصرم فكن ما حييت ضنينا به فظنك بالوقت عين الكرم وكن حلس درسك وافرح به تكن قائدا في غد للأمم.